Deadpool 2 is on its way. The first movie was an exciting, hilarious change of pace for the superhero genre, and the sequel promises more of the same. It's really kind of interesting how this character has evolved over the years. Created by Fabian Nicieza and Rob Liefeld in New Mutants number 98 in 1991, Deadpool was originally basically every cliché of 90s comic books. Healing factor, sword, mercenary, attitude, drawn by Rob Liefeld. He checked all the boxes, and yet over time, he stood out from the glut of Youngbloods and Blood Guns, becoming one of Marvel's most popular characters. From arguments with his own internal monologue to his wild and comical mood swings, his moral ambiguity to his love for a vampire cow, Deadpool went from cliché to one of the most unique characters around. So unique, in fact, I'm not sure what the topic of my video is even going to be. Sword guys, argumentative caption boxes.
Cable is also in this movie.
Buddy teams. Although they'd had copious interactions in the past as X-Force teammates and regulars in the mutant sector of the Marvel Universe, when Cable and Deadpool number 1 came out in 2004, it solidified them as one of the top buddy teams in comics. The irrational and wisecracking Deadpool paired with the intently serious, often angry Cable created a contrast that made them incredibly engaging. Of course, buddy teams are a concept as old as entertainment. Whether we're talking about Castor and Pollux, Sherlock Holmes and Watson, Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn, Bert and Ernie, Lenny and Carl, Murtaugh and Riggs, or Harry, Ron and Hermione, friends having adventures together has always had an appeal. Sometimes they're like-minded, sometimes one is a clear motivator and the other a sidekick, but many of the best ones feature polar opposites who have to overcome their differences and work together, like Cable and Deadpool. And comics are full of these guys. Early newspaper strips included such staples as Frank and Ernest, Mutt and Jeff, the Katzenjammer Kids, and Castor Oil and Ham Gravy. And from there to Calvin and Hobbes, Rat and Pig, and Satchel and Bucky, we still see classic pairs today. If you read newspaper comics. Now, for the purposes of this discussion, I'm not going to explore obvious mentor-sidekick situations like Batman and Robin, because that can be its own topic. And I'm not covering romantic pairings like Bulletman and Bullet Girl because that's coming in July. But even with that aside, there's quite a bit of ground to cover. From comedy duos like Popeye and Wimpy and friendly rivals like Betty and Veronica, to military duos like Corporal Collins and his dim-witted pal Slapsy, and classic cowboy pairs like the Lone Ranger and Tonto, it isn't hard to find a great duo in whatever genre you prefer.
Hey, Schmo, I'm happy to see ya.
Likewise, Mo, likewise.
You're the best friend I got.
And you, Mo, are the noblest pal in the world.
My pal.
My buddy.
Say, pal, would you loan me $1?
Nice footwork he's got there.
Reckon we ought to tell him the fight's over, or shall we just let him run down?
Godspeed you on your first mission, son. The powers stored in me are pulling me like 1,000 horses. I'm off! Trios also weren't uncommon, like the Unholy Three, the Three Cheers, Red, White, and Blue, or the Three Lieutenant Marvels. In many ways, trios gave us even more room for contrast. TV tropes demonstrates how they often represent the id, ego, and superego, where a level-headed middle person balances out a studious partner and an aggressive or goofball counterpart. But Golden Age trios often tended to be more like-minded than not. But of all genres, superhero pairs weren't that common. Mostly you had sidekick duos or romantic partners, but then, in Superman number 76 in 1952, the Man of Steel met the Dark Knight, more or less for the first time. They'd previously appeared together in a Justice Society story in the 40s, but I digress. The move was popular. The pair had been appearing on covers of World's Finest together for a decade, but after their landmark team-up, they began appearing in stories together in every single issue. Comics' two most important heroes becoming the first strong superhero buddy team. It's trouble outside. I must switch to Batman without this Kent chap seeing me. Mind if I switch off the light and turn in? No, I'm tired too. In the dark, I can become Superman without him seeing. But suddenly, as rising flames pour light through the portal, Why, you're Superman! And you, Bruce Wayne, you're Batman! More a structure than a genre, buddy teams have never really gone out of style. Television has given us Lucy and Ethel, Laverne and Shirley, Stewie and Brian, Honeydew and Beaker. Movies give us the Bing Crosby and Bob Hope The Road to films, Thelma and Louise, 48 Hours, the list goes on. But even so, there seemed to be a particularly strong era for buddy teams in comics. In the Silver Age, when superheroes became the dominant genre in comics again, seemingly for good, you mostly had solo titles and team books. But then an interesting thing happened. In the 70s, the era sometimes known as the Bronze Age, you suddenly had buddy titles breaking out everywhere. Green Lantern, Green Arrow, Daredevil and the Black Widow, Captain America and the Falcon, the Daughters of the Dragon. Spider-Man and the Human Torch had a friendship that tied the two together beyond the occasional issue of Marvel Team-Up, and possibly the most essential buddy title of all time.
You got some bad moves, Ballet Britches.
But kung fu kicks and a flaming fist won't stop me from bringing this building down on your head. Luke Cage, Hero for Hire, later Luke Cage Power Man, had a title that cashed in heavily on the popularity of so-called blaxploitation movies such as Shaft and Dolomite. Iron Fist was cashing in on the current popularity of kung fu movies, and the two heroes had moderate solo success. But then writer Chris Claremont brought the two together in a comic dubbed Power Man and Iron Fist, taking over the numbering from Power Man's solo book. And despite the somewhat clumsy title, the duo had a fairly healthy run and are intrinsically linked in the minds of most fans to this day. And even though duo books are rarer now, you still have a solid pairing here and there. Important friendships like Green Lantern and the Flash, Oracle and the Black Canary, Richie Rich and Casper, and obviously the most important buddy team of all time, the Super Skrull and Ronan the Accuser from Annihilation. I guess we're not going.
He's Pax, wait for it. Are you going to be all day about it?
I would read the hell out of a Super Skrull Ronin buddy book. But of them all, is there any greater contrast than that between the impatient Cable and the patient straining Deadpool? I guess we'll find out in a couple of weeks. So we all get by with a little help from our friends, although Cable probably wishes he got by a little less with the help of his, and that is Deadpool's Golden Age influence.
Really? You're playing that now?